Hi, this is Bobby Warren with the Daily Record, and we're sitting down with Pastor Jim McComas at the Thrill on the Hill, otherwise known as
Canaan Free Will Baptist in Creston, just outside of Creston.
And so tell us what's happening.
Well, after I've been a part of the church, our family have been here 25 years, 21 years as senior pastor. The end of February, I'm wrapping it up, and I'm going to work for our denomination, the Home Missions Department of the National Association of Free Will Baptists, which is headquartered just outside of Nashville, Tennessee, and I will be the director of church revitalization in the Home Missions Department.
Now, I understand they got some recording studios down in Nashville. Is that true?
I figure George Jones is gone now. I may try to out for his spot on the Opry if I, as a part-time job.
So tell me, what's your new role?
My new role, our Home Missions Department plants churches. That's the primary. Our Home Missions Department plants new churches across North America, and North America will include Canada, Mexico, the United States, Puerto Rico, the Virgin Islands. So we have missionaries, church planters all over those areas, planting new churches. So that's under the Home Missions Department. Then we also have some military chaplains that come under the Home Missions Department. And then my title is going to be Church Revitalization, so I will be traveling primarily, promoting home missions in our existing churches. And then we have a lot of churches that were just like ours. Our story, our church is very representative of a lot of Free Will Baptist churches. Our church was located in Sterling originally, and in 1989 there were 12 people there, and those 12 people had a discussion about whether to close the doors or not. A lot of Free Will Baptist churches are in rural Midwestern areas in the South that are struggling. And there's a lot of church growth people today that would say, just let them die. That churches have a life cycle. Just go ahead and kill them. Put them out of their misery. It's easier to start something new than it is to revitalize something that's kind of on the downward cycle. And I say to those people, if you'd have come to Sterling in 1989 and saw a building that was 150 years old, Sterling is not on the main drag to anywhere. I always used to say either you're buying farm equipment or buying furniture. At that time, if you get to Sterling, it's not on the main drag. So it would have been the perfect one with 12 people to say, well, it's had its life cycle. And I say, congratulations, you've killed Canaan Free Will Baptist Church today, which is now in Free Will Baptist, one of our largest rural churches in Ohio and in the United States, that has contributed tens of thousands of dollars to mission work and seen countless people accept the Lord and baptized and sent out workers and other preachers. And what happened here, I believe, can happen anywhere because God's the same. And I don't think any church has to die. So anyway, I didn't mean to preach, but that's the idea of trying to go out and share our story here and try to help some of these churches.
Now you say God's the same, right? And I'm sure that you would attribute anything good that happened here to the working of the Holy Spirit. But how has the Holy Spirit worked in the congregation that you've been able to go from 12 to how many members today?
Oh, we probably have 350 members. Of course, I came here under Johnny Castle was the pastor for the first three and a half years that I was here, and then I became senior pastor, like I said, 21 years ago. I attribute it to, obviously, it is the Lord, but the Lord has to work through people, and God put the pieces together, and we have some wonderful people. We have some wonderful, caring people that got a vision for God to do something. And in 1996, we came over here to this 5 acres of property and built the original building, filled it up, paid it off, and immediately started on this building that we're sitting in now. And God has filled it up, and it's been exciting. But it has been through our involvement in the community. I made up my mind years ago that I was going to be involved in a lot of different areas, and that's the church takes on, I think, the personality of the pastor, and we've been very community involved. We have many different ministries in the community. Been blessed to be involved in the religious education program here. I'm involved in the schools in a great way, and it's been wonderful.
Speaking of the schools, Doug Hunter once was doing the 365 Project 365 or something like that. And I believe he did a piece on you, and you said you didn't want to be known as the guy in the suit, if I'm remembering it correctly. Can you tell us the story, kind of what happened?
We had a tragic accident several years ago that folks will probably remember.
Incidentally, I was working at the Washington Courthouse newspaper, and that story came across the wire, and I read it down there, but go ahead.
And 6 children, young people, lost their lives tragically in a car wreck outside of Creston, between Creston and Burbank. And at a time of tragedy, they always bring the ministers to the school for counseling. I can remember standing on the sidewalk at Murray's funeral home. There were people as far, just a block down. And I knew our kids, the kids that came to our church, but other than that, a lot of the kids I didn't know. And when they looked at me, I knew they were just looking at me as just some guy in a suit. They would not come. They would not have the confidence to come to me for help or counsel. And I just determined that I wanted to be known as more than a guy in a suit. I wanted the people to be approachable for the kids or anybody to be able to come to me and for help and hope, and that's what it's all about. It's not to sit in here in the 4 walls of the church, but to go out and be a friend and be somebody that's approachable. And it was shortly after that the opportunity came for me to become a part of our religious education program, which I have for now 11, 12 years, taught over 200 of our junior high kids, and I love the kids. I love our kids in the church. I love the kids in the community, and they love me, and it's been a wonderful part of the ministry here.
I know some churches in their bulletins or even in their vestibules, they'll have enter to worship and then depart to serve. And, there's been talk in recent years about the church without walls. The church, the people of the congregation has to go out into the community and, reach them.
It's been very humbling, the outpouring of love to our family as we have made this announcement, and it's not been an easy thing. I'm born and raised Wayne County. I love this area, and for God to have moved me, I knew it was going to have to be like a neon sign in the front yard moment. Almost, because I'd never wanted to be anything more than the pastor of this church, and through a lot of set of circumstances, he did reveal that it was very clearly his will. But I thought, what a great honor when I told our superintendent of schools, Karen O'Hare, I went to her office and told her about what was happening. She teared up, and she came out from her desk, and she hugged me, and she said, I'm proud and glad for you, but said this is going to be devastating to our community. And I of course, it made me feel bad, but I thought, if somebody can have a ministry where people in the community feel like that they're losing something, that's the kind of ministry I think God is honored with, to take it out of the church and to be in the community and really feel like you've made a difference in people's lives.
Speaking about this opportunity that's coming up, following you on Facebook, it seems like you are doing a lot of these elements of your new job for, all the years I've known you, because you've been traveling, singing, preaching, and I know through all of that you've been uplifted and inspired and edified by others. And I see what you write about others, and that you're uplifting, inspiring, edifying. and perhaps even revitalizing others in your travels as well. Did you see God, I mean, as you look back, do you see God working all these things together?
I do. The man that's going to be my boss has been a dear friend, a dear close friend. He's my hero. He's my mentor. And when he came in May, he came in to speak at our camp meeting, and I picked him up from the airport, and he sat in our living room that night, my wife Beth and I, and he said, look, he said, I've been in 1,100 of our churches, and I'm telling you right now, you can pray about it all you want to, but you're the man to replace me in my position. He said, I don't have a plan B. I don't have a backup plan. I would have nothing like pressure. But that was a great honor. But I do think that all those elements, I have been blessed to be able. I've had the best of both worlds. I've been able to pastor the greatest congregation in the world, and then people, I guess, have the mistaken idea if you have a growing church that you can preach. And so I've gotten a lot of invitations to go, had a great time, met people all over the country. And so it has kind of prepared and paved the way, and I'm going to get to go to those places. And get to go to a lot of places. I am booked right now in 2014, the rest of the year, in 19 different states. I just booked the 19th state and getting to preach in some denominational events like state meetings and things when people get together. I'm just honored. I'm humbled. I'm just a kid from Wayne County, born in Worcester Community Hospital that loves the Lord. I accepted the Lord at Grace Brethren Church and Vacation Bible School at 6 years old, and have all I've ever wanted to do. I felt God called me when I was in 3rd grade to preach.
Wow.
And to get to preach, I used to preach into a tape recorder because, who wants to hear a 9-year-old kid preach? But boy, look, to think of the places that I've got to go and the people, it's just, it's a God thing, and I'm honored and excited.
When I know it's different when you're pastoring a congregation and you're in the located ministry, that your sermons will have to address needs in the congregation, establish a vision where you're going and things like that, and sometimes to correct behaviors and all that. So there's a lot of things that go when you're preaching. But what themes kind of do you like to preach on?
I learned a long time ago. I never wanted to be a pastor. I wanted to be an evangelist. I'd see those guys get up in the fancy suits, and the crocodile boots, and I'd think, that's what I want to do. I want to go in and stir them up and leave them for the pastor to deal with. But God has a sense of humor. He led me, and I've only been here. It's the only church I've ever pastored. He given me the greatest group of people, and he when he calls you to do that, he gives you a love for the people. I love these people. And they love me. It's been our family and our church has been a love affair for all these years. And this is not easy. This is not easy. But as far as themes, I just learned a long time ago. I could list 100 sins and just go to town on this, that, and the other. But if I can get people to fall in love with Jesus, I think a lot of that's itself. People come in here, they don't need me to tell them that they're a sinner. They know what they've been doing. They know when they walked in here. The Holy Spirit, I believe, convicts you of what you're doing wrong. But if I get somebody to fall in love with Jesus, then a lot of that stuff's going to go away, and you're going to want to do right. So maybe somebody says, well, that's being soft. But, I just feel if I can get them to fall, I don't talk about money a lot. God's met all of our financial. I don't get into stuff like that because I think if I can get them to fall in love with Jesus, a lot of that, and that's kind of been my theme.